Good evening, everyone. This is Chantay. I'm here with my analysis today on Thursday, July 30th, 2020. There's some things to unpack today. I hope you guys are enjoying your Thursday. Happy Thursday. Thirsty Thursdays. For some of you, that's your weekend starts today. Happy weekend to you. So I am here with some stuff. I won't be long before you. So we have some things to cover. Of course, coronavirus is always the first thing on my list all the time because we are still in the midst of a pandemic. It's almost marking 5 months since we've been in this pandemic. And so here we are. As of today, globally, we have reached 17,222,008. Yesterday, we was at 16,950,407. So today, we're at 17 million, over 17 million globally. Here in the U.S., we account for a fourth of those cases. So here in the U.S., we are at 4,487,987. Yesterday, we was at 4,424,806. So that's a pretty significant number. We almost at 4.5 million. Keep in mind, last week the U.S. has marked 4 million cases here in the United States. So the fact that we are at almost at 4.5, it's very telling. Our death toll is at 151,834. Other cases in countries I do globally because, as much as I have to focus on the U.S., there's other countries that are affected and mostly countries of color, such as Brazil. They're at 2,610,102, followed by India at 1,582,028. Russia's at 832,933, excuse me. South Africa, 482,169. That is insane. Mexico, which is south of the United States, hey Tasha, is at 416,179, followed by Peru at 400,683. Chile is at 353,536, followed by the UK at 303,910. Here in our Latin countries, we have Colombia at 276,055, followed by Ecuador at 84,370, Dominican Republic at 67,915, Panama 64,191, Guatemala 48,826, Honduras 40,944, El Salvador 16,230. Nigeria and the African nations, as you know, South Africa do have the highest cases. They almost at 500,000. Nigeria has 42,689. Ghana has 35,142. Kenya has 19,913. Cameroon 17,255. Senegal 10,106. The Congo, which is Kenisha, is at 9,010, and Gambia at 403. In the West Indies, Jamaica, not Jamaica first. Haiti has 7,366. Jamaica has 855. Jamaica was doing great with COVID. I don't know what's going on, what's happening, unless everybody's not endearing or unless they're letting tourists in, because that's not good. It's not good for Jamaica because Jamaica was on the process. Like, from watching the Beanie Man and Bounty Killer thing, I thought they were on a great trajectory. I don't know what's going on. Bahamas 508. Guyana 401. Trinidad and Tobago 164. Barbados 110. Antigua 91. St. Vincent 52. Belize 48. St. Lucia 25. They moved up one. Yeah, Jamaica's crazy. Grenada 24 cases. They moved up one after being in 23 cases for quite a while, about 2 or 3 months. Dominica's still at 18. St. Kitts is still at 17. I didn't catch the counties in terms of Los Angeles. I didn't get the chance to do that, but on the COVID map of New York Times, California is almost at 500,000 cases. California has 491,833. Followed by Florida, 461,371. Texas, 428,007. Texas has surpassed New York as of yesterday. I have said it in my live that Texas is going to surpass New York. They're going to be the next state to surpass New York. I said California first, then I say Texas, then I say Florida, now Texas. New York has the fourth largest cases now at 419,081, followed by New Jersey at 182,845. Remember, New York and New Jersey had the highest cases. Now they still round up in the top 5, but they're much lower because of the necessary steps that both of the governors have taken. Arizona, 170,841. My prediction, I'm not sure. They're going to surpass Illinois because they have 174,000. And they might surpass New Jersey, which I won't be shocked. North Carolina, 120,405. Louisiana, 114,595. South Carolina, 572, excuse me. I didn't get the counties, but I'll do a separate video of the counties, the top 5 counties according to the Johns Hopkins website, who round out the top 50 counties here in the United States that has a high significant number of COVID cases in their county. I know Miami-Dade County is really not looking good for them, so that's what it is. So let's see. Trump had a press conference today, which it was a manifesto of lies, of course, like any other press conference that he does. I caught a little bit of it because I try not to pay attention to him too much because he lies so much to the point where he does not tell the truth, and and it's misleading and it's not fair. So he began the press conference expressing his condolences to Herman King, which I'm going to get into. He said, "Let me begin by expressing the passing of my beloved friend and a wonderful man and a dear friend of mine, Herman Cain. He was a special person. I got to know him very well. Unfortunately, he passed away from the thing called the Chinese virus. Send our prayers to his great wife and his children, blah, blah, blah." He talked about the resurgence of, has taken a toll on countries. He talked about outside countries. He talked about Australia. He talked about Japan, and he talked about Israel, which they don't even have a fourth of what we have in technicality. Japan is actually doing very well with their COVID cases. They're like somewhere in the thousands. They're not even where Brazil, India, or even we are. So that being said, that I debunked that. He also expressed that he claimed that there were states that were hit hard. I could quote, he claims that virus have came back in states like California, which is true. But he said Washington State, Maryland, Virginia, Nevada, Illinois, and Oregon, which they are led by Democratic governors, because he's making this a partisan argument again. Yeah, Herman Cain died, but I'm going to get into Herman Cain because, yeah. So, he claimed that these cases that came back in the states, but according to the Johns Hopkins website, according to the New York Times COVID map, because I also look at, in terms of the states, Virginia has 88,904 cases, followed by Maryland at 87,740, Nevada at Washington State at 57,732, Nevada 46,837, and Oregon 18,166. So technicality, those states don't have as much highest cases. Some of them have spikes, but they don't have high cases. The only state that he got right was California, because California almost had 500. And he also said governors that were extremely popular are not so popular anymore. The models they were held to follow, they got I mean, they got next, and not saying that it's their fault, but it's just the way it is. I guess Florida and Texas and Arizona's not there because according to Arizona don't have the amount of cases as Florida, Texas have, but they're right on that trajectory. They surpassed New York. New York had the highest cases for like about 2.5 months, 2.5, 3 months until this month. They had the higher cases in March, towards the ending of March, but since July, California, Florida, and Texas has seemed to, they surpassed New York within a matter of weeks, like about a month. Into their reopening, I gave it until like in the middle of this month, they have surpassed New York. New York had the highest cases from March all the way to the beginning of July. This month, until the reopening back in May and June for states like California, Texas, Arizona, and Florida have caused resurgence of cases going up, mess up the progress that all the states have during their stay-at-home orders. So that's something else I debunked. Trump is lying. Trump also said he claims that half of the deaths, 1%. He said he claims that young children are not at risk, which is bullshit because there are 75,000 children. According to Now Is This, you can look on Now Is This on YouTube, and they always fact check Donald Trump, are affected with COVID-19. And I can say here in New York so far, I'm not sure about the death toll in the country, but I know here in New York so far, from what Cuomo had briefed about a couple months back, 3 kids have died from COVID-related symptoms called the Wasaki virus. So Trump is lying again. He was asked about, his claims about the voter, about the elections, about delaying the elections, because I'm also going to get into that tweet. And he said there were tens of thousands ballots tossed out. So pretty much Trump is lying. He's continuously lying. He's trying to win an election, right? To win a re-election. So here's the thing, like I always tell people, you have to vote like your life depends on it. Because what Donald Trump is doing, he's playing the playbook like he did in 2016. He's trying to suppress the vote to have people stay at home. He's trying to say there's voter fraud. There is no voter fraud. Because I'm going to get into that article next. But Trump is lying. That's all I'm saying. In terms of the economy, which I am going to get into, according to the NPR article that I have, got so many papers and so much little time, right? This is how much research you have to do to get your facts straight all day, every day. So 3 months of hell, that's what the NPR, which is National Public Radio article set titled, U.S. economy drops 32.9% in the GDP. The worst GDP reported ever. The GDP, which stands for the gross domestic product, drops to 32.9, the lowest record in history since 1947. That's about over 70 years ago, 73 years ago. 1.1% according to Google. That was back in, that's what that 1.1 came from. In the second quarter, which starts April 1st and June 30th, as retailers and restaurants shut their doors in desperate effort to slow the spread of coronavirus, which killed more than 150,000 Americans. Because like I said, over 151,000 Americans are dead. In addition, another 1.43 million Americans have filed for unemployment benefits. Last week, that was an increase last week from 12,000. The Department of Labor report this today, which marks the second week in the row. Overall, the economy in the second quarter was smaller than 9.5 from last year. As the economic activity began to rebound, COVID infections began to increase in states such as California, Texas, Florida, and Arizona. But Trump did not say that Texas and Florida and Arizona has seen emerging increases. Because why? Because those are his states that he needs to win. And technically, their governors are stressed. Their hospitals are overwhelmed in that state. They don't have the enough equipment as he touts it. So he's playing to his base. In terms, it is still high. The unemployment is still high at 11% as of June 20th. And that's the highest. That's almost depression levels. We're in a recession already. Also, wages fell sharply in April during the peak of the pandemic, more than offset by 1,200 direct payments sent to adults and 600 additional unemployment benefits. These government payments help prevent a steeper drop in consumer spending, the lifeblood of the economy, which is true. The United States economy, 60% of it is based on consumer participation. Some people say consumer spending, which is true, because that includes consumer spending. That includes us going to the store, going shopping, buying clothes, hotels, traveling. That's all consumer participation. That's economics. In order to solve the public health problem, because why this is a public health problem, and particularly because this virus attacks human beings, human to human touching physical interaction without protective gear. So when you have that, the economy is going to fall if you don't solve the public health problem. Economics is everything that we are surrounded by. It's the air that we breathe. It's us going to the store. It's us going to work. Most of the people's jobs survive with consumer spending. So when you don't have consumer spending going on, the economy drops. When you have a global pandemic that affects human beings, by touching each other, you die. That affects the economy. When people can't go to the store because when you have an airborne disease without protective facial coverings on your face, with a mass of people in no social distancing, because this virus requires you to social distance according to medical experts. You don't do that, you die. So of course, retailers and restaurateurs had to close down their stuff in order to address the global pandemic issue and how would they safely reopen. So all of this stuff makes sense. You don't have to be a political scientist, an economic expert, a business professional, someone who studied and got a degree in business to know these things. It's basic common sense. So when Trump touts this, retail is doing great, housing is doing great, no, it's not. Because real estate involves what? Customer interaction, face-to-face interaction. Retail involves in-person shopping. The online shopping is great, but it's great to a certain magnitude. Amazon is great during a pandemic. Clothing stores, not too tough. Department stores, not too tough. Because some department stores get stuff from third-party vendors. So technicality, our economy is shits. And we're supposed to be the richest nation on the globe. We're supposed to be the country with the most resources. And Trump keeps touting that our testing is great. We still rank low in testing. Even though we're doing massive testing, but we still rank the lowest in testing. So our shit is low. Very low. So that's what's going on in the economy. So I urge you people to, read. Just read. So, hurricane. There we go. So, hurricane, at one time, according to CNN article, 2012, Republican presidential candidate, CEO of Godfather's Pizza, has died from complications in his battle with coronavirus. Kane, who was 74, a cancer survivor, also the co-chair of Black Voices for Trump, has died in an Atlanta hospital due to his battle with coronavirus. According to Newsmax, which is a conservative channel, his people did put out a statement, but I didn't record it. But he was also, like I say, was a Trump surrogate who attended the Tulsa rally back on June 20th, the day after Juneteenth, with no facial covering, sitting shoulder to shoulder with other Black Trump supporters. Keep in mind, this Tulsa rally saw 8 Trump staffers tested positive for COVID-19. He posted a video on Twitter with other Black Trump supporters saying he's having a great time without facial masks. And I said, keep in mind, Kane supported the no mask decision required for Trump's rally on July 4th in South Dakota. Because South Dakota, there was also another massive rally where was no mask required, right? He said in a tweet about this, masks will not be mandatory for the event, which will be attended by Trump. People are fed up. He put that last sentence, people are fed up in caps and quotation mark. Which he also appeared to remove that from his account. And on his website, he supported the anti-malaria drug called hydroxychloroquine, which also treats people that has lupus or malaria. And despite several of quality studies that find this drug to not treat COVID-19, actually makes people sicker or people die from this. He also criticized the fact of washing your hands and practicing social distancing. So, like I said, I don't wish death on anybody. I pray my condolences is to Mr. Kane and his family, and may he rest in peace. But this is a lesson learned to other Republicans. Unfortunately, Herman Cain can't learn his lesson because he is laying 6 feet under. But like I said, this here is a lesson to all other Republicans that keep saying that this virus is a hoax. This virus is not a hoax. It is not the China virus. It is not the Chinese virus. It is not the Wuhan virus. It is the coronavirus. It's not anything that Donald Trump says each and every day, because he keeps touting lies after lies after lies and saying we could have done something about it. You could have done something about it, Donald Trump. You could have got the testing kits from the World Health Organization, and you didn't. You mishandled this, and look what happened. You shelved the playbook from the Obama administration. You have shelved the CDC guidelines report to address this, how to reopen up the economy safely. You have shelved the report. So there you go. So like I said, this is a lesson learned. Herman Cain's death should be a lesson learned to each and every Republican. Do not criticize this virus. Wear your mask and wear your gloves. Because even Louis Gohmert should be a lesson learned too. And I hope Louis Gohmert, who is still alive, who is also at a higher risk age group at 60, almost 67 years old, almost my mom's age, because my mom just made 67 last week, can take his ass home and self-quarantine. And then take another test so he could go back to Congress. Because by you staying in Congress, you're affecting everybody else around you. So, that is my take on what is being said. Now getting to politics. I want to talk about Donald Trump. I briefed it about his comment about voting. He tweeted this. With universal mail-in voting, not absentee voting, which is good, 2020 will be the most inaccurate, he put that on quote, and fraudulent election in history. It will be a great embarrassment to the USA. Delay the election until people can properly secure a safely vote. What? So CNN debunked this in an article, and a fact checkers there said there is a distinction between mail-in voting and absentee voting, and experts say those voting systems are essentially the same thing. There is also no widespread voting fraud in U.S. elections. Also, Trump does not have the power to change the date of the election. Election day is set by congressional statute, and most experts agree that it cannot be changed without congressional approval. And that is so true. Lindsey Graham, a staunch Trump supporter, said this: I don't think it's a particularly a good idea, excuse me. Other House congressional Republicans said, I will oppose this. Hopefully they stick to their word, because sometimes they're not trusted neither. Because they'll say one thing off the record and they will appease them in person, right? Because that's what they do. But Nancy Pelosi clapped back at this, which I love it. She said this, quoting the Article 2 section of the Constitution: determine the time of choosing the electors and the day on which they shall give their voice. And she is right. Trump cannot do that. He has the executive branch. The executive branch has power, but they don't have that much power, especially when it comes to our laws. That's where there's called a checks and balance. That's why it's a 3-branch government, this country. Besides the fact I thought the founding fathers were racist, but they got these laws right, though, in terms of the president cannot have no total control. This is not an authoritarian country. This is a free, democratic country. You have the legislative branch that makes and passes the laws. You have the executive branch that enforces the laws, which they should be doing. With, of course, they try to overstep other branches. And you have the judiciary laws that basically checks you on the laws and make sure you following the goddamn laws. So I guess somebody needs to keep reading. But then again, this is what happens when you elect stupid people. Just saying. So, John Lewis's funeral was very beautiful. Some things have taken away. The former 3 presidents, 2 Democratic, 1 Republican, made their remarks. The remarks that stood out to me was, of course, President Obama's remarks, but the Reverend Dr. John Lawson eulogy on John Lewis. I saw the whole entire thing, but the quote that stuck out to me was, it was black women who made the decision in Nashville in reference to desegregating the Nashville, Tennessee city, because it was segregated at the time. It was one of the southern cities that was segregated. He also said the nonviolent movement of America. That's what was called. That's what John Lewis called it then. He did not call it the civil rights movement. And then he also said, I think we need to get the story straight, because he feels like the media did not get the story straight on John Lewis at all, especially the textbooks neither, which in the American textbooks written by secondhand people, mostly white people, they didn't. Also, Kelly Lewis Smith invited John Lewis back in 1959 to the workshops. Because John Lewis was one of the youngest civil rights leaders emerging at the time, or I should say, the black freedom movement back in the 60s. But President Obama's quote was, "George Wallace may be gone, but we can witness our federal government sending out agents to use their tear gas and batons against peaceful demonstrators." And that is so true. That is so true. President Obama's eulogy, along with Dr. Lawson's eulogy, was beautiful. And of course the singing was the singing at the end and another song was beautiful. I love Jennifer Holliday, but no, I don't think she was quickly prepared. But that's just me. In terms of the beef steaks, I had the beef steaks on my live tonight, but I was like, you know what? I've been covering the beef steaks a lot. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. But I'm just going to end this live and just say, just keep safe, wash your hands, and practice social distancing. Until then, have a great night.